Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, hi, hello, my name is Ellie and today's video is going to be a little bit different from anything I've done before. After a few messages that I've got on Instagram and things like that, I decided I was going to do a little video on my journey with body confidence. I have made some notes on my laptop because I know that I just ramble on for ages, so I've kind of put down the points that I want to make and that kind of thing. So I will be looking at my laptop occasionally, but I'll try and look at the camera as much as possible. I do want to apologise now because this video might be a little bit longer than normal videos, but do hang on in there because I think that the message that I'm trying to relay to you is quite important, and because it's a journey from when I was like 15 to now, I think that you probably won't, like, it's carried out throughout the video, but it'll be at the end that you kind of see how I've come to terms with myself, if that makes sense. So yeah, let's just get into it. Although this video is obviously going to be from my perspective as a female, I do think that it can help not only girls but boys and men and women, just accepting you for you and loving you for you, that kind of thing. Really cringe, I know, but that's the whole point of the video. So yes. So I'm going to take you back to a few years ago, like 2015, 2016, when I was 15, 16. So I was in a relationship that really wasn't great. I felt not enough most of the time. Like, I'd be told that I needed to work out more or eat better because I was chubby. I was told that I wasn't allowed to dye my hair because he liked my hair a certain colour. If I was to sit on his lap, then I was told to get off because I weighed too much. All of that kind of stuff. And I think from such a young age that really like ingrained this negative feeling in my brain and in my heart, because I just thought that I wasn't good enough. I never thought after him that I was good enough for anyone because I was a little bit curvier, I did weigh a little bit more. Back then as well, I was really struggling with comments from people about me and my sister. So Fee, who you saw on a couple of videos if you've watched my previous videos, doing the Control My Life for a Day, you can see that she's very skinny, she's very petite, she's absolutely stunning and I love her with my entire heart. However, I did always struggle with our two different body types, if that makes sense. Like, I felt that I should be as skinny as she was, or she should be as big as I was, because I didn't think it was fair that she was able to look so gorgeous all the time. Like, she had the typical flat stomach and small waist and small thighs and all that kind of stuff. But over the years I've really come to terms with the fact that our actual body structures are very, very different. So my sister gets her body structure, like the thinness and the high metabolism and the more petite structure, from my grandpa's side of the family, whereas I get my broad shoulders, big hips, a slower metabolism from my grandma's side of the family, who typically do have bigger hips and bigger bone structures. And so if I was to try and be as skinny as Phoebe, I would have looked weird because it just wouldn't have looked in proportion, if that makes sense. Back in like 2014, 2015, I did stop eating for a couple of months, particularly at school. At home it was a little bit more difficult because my mum was adamant that she wanted me to eat and things like that, but when I was at school I wouldn't eat during break time, I wouldn't eat during lunchtime, I wouldn't snack like I used to or I do now, because I felt that the only way that I could lose sufficient amount of weight was to starve myself. And quite quickly realised, after many people told me, that by not putting enough food into my body was storing the fat that I already had to use as an energy source, so I wasn't actually losing that weight, and if anything I was putting more weight on because my body was having to try and store fat for energy. Yeah, and it was particularly one teacher at school that I got on with very, very well that would actually come and sit with me at lunchtime to more distract me from the eating. Like, we would have conversations, we'd chat about different things and things like that, so that I wasn't actually necessarily thinking about what I was eating, but I was eating while I was talking, so I was distracted. I think that makes sense. I'm not sure, but yeah, so he really helped me out, and after that I started eating a little bit more regularly, to the point that I started overeating a bit because I was compensating. I thought, oh well, if I'm going to be losing weight then I need to put these calories into my body, and I just didn't really get it. And I think the first time that I really understood it was when I started my PT last year, because she properly explained everything to me. So I'm just going to say now that if you are struggling from the same kind of thing, then I would recommend going to see like a nutritionist, I think. I think is the word, or your doctor, because they can walk you through these kind of things, like what you need to be putting into your body, maybe how much exercise you should be looking at doing, particularly if you're on a weight loss program. Often there will be, I think it's like calorie deficit, I'm not really sure, don't take this like completely true because I'm not like an expert in it obviously, but they talk about like calorie deficits. You have to be taking in a certain amount of calories in order for your body to be burning it off, and that depends on your weight, your height, your age, how active you are. So at the moment I'm on 1600 calories a day I have to take, which some days I really struggle with, like taking in that many, and some days I'll have maybe fattier foods or more sugary foods that will have more calories in. So I actually struggle to keep to the 1600, if that makes sense. But if you do go to a PT or you do go to a nutritionist, I need to try and work out how to say that word, but if you do go to a nutritionist, then maybe talk about, you know, what would be the best kind of level of calories that you're looking at putting into your body. However, if you're watching this and you're young and you're like 13, 14, please, I don't know, don't pressure yourself, because one thing I came to terms with was, and I'm going to be talking about this in a bit about my skin, but I was going through so many hormonal changes at the time that your body does change shape. You know, your boobs get bigger, your hips get bigger, your bum gets bigger, and you know, if you're on your period then you tend to bloat. I mean, I do. I struggle really badly when I'm on my period. I put on like an extra 2 kilograms or something ridiculous because of the amount of bloating I get, but then I suffer quite badly with my period anyway. So yeah, if you are younger, don't worry about it. I know that's really silly to say, because I feel like when people used to say that to me, I'd get really annoyed because I'd be like, that doesn't help me out by saying just don't worry about it. But you know, you really don't need to worry about it too much. But I do think that the next couple of things I'm going to talk about might help you out with trying to start accepting the way that you look and kind of looking on the more positive side of it, if that makes sense. So yes. So it was actually around this time that I started going to parties, particularly with my musical theatre group and things like that, or some friends. I mean, I didn't really have very many friends, but like particularly my musical theatre group, we'd have like after parties or get to know the cast parties, that kind of thing. At this time, I'd just broken up with my first boyfriend, and I was really struggling with not having the attention that I got previously. I'm quite bad. I feel like if I'm not talking to somebody, I mean, this is still the same now, like I feel like if I'm not talking to somebody, whether or not that be friends or boyfriend or family, then I feel like I'm really alone and I struggle. So like quite often I'll just turn my phone off, because then I know that I'm not going to get any notifications, whereas if I've got my phone on and I'm not getting notifications, then I'm a bit like, nobody wants to speak to me, that's great. Back then, I would dress up to the nines. Bearing in mind I was only like 15, 16, so I was young. Like, I know it sounds really stupid because I'm only 19, but I was young. And I feel so sad and embarrassed for the person that I used to be, the way that I used to feel. So yeah, I would dress up to the nines at parties. At the time, I wouldn't really have very many clothes on. To be quite honest with you, I'm actually going to use 2 different examples. So this one, where I'm going to insert a photo so you can kind of see what I wore. I literally turned up to this party in this pink bralette from Victoria's Secret or something, I think, and some trousers. And I literally turned up to a party in a bra, because I thought that that was the only way that I could get attention. And at the time, I think I was like, had a crush on somebody, I think, and I thought that he would love it if I turned up in like this bra. And then the second scenario is, I think I was probably about 17 maybe at the time. I got this like mesh, like it was literally like this thick, like it wasn't even much, that went over your boobs, and then it just had like little straps around the side and up on the shoulders, and it was like in fashion, but it just wasn't big enough, and my boobs were literally falling out the bottom. And I thought, oh, the boys are gonna love this. I'm gonna turn up, my boobs are basically hanging out, and like I'm gonna get so much attention. Thinking about it now, I'm like, Ellie, babe, you don't have to dress like that to get attention. And the worst thing about it was the attention that I got was not the attention that I needed. I can tell you now, the entire time through those parties, no matter what if I was dressing up like that, I was not comfortable. I did not enjoy those parties, because all I could think about was, oh my God, what are people thinking? Like, I got so anxious about it. A lot of the time I would just leave the parties early, because I was like, or I would get absolutely hammered, because I was like, I really don't want to be thinking about what people are thinking about me now. I was so worried that the boys would be like talking among each other, if that makes sense, and saying, oh my God, look at her, she's trying so hard, or she's going to be really easy. And then the girls, like, I had a lot of respect for the girls I used to hang around with, and I was so worried that they thought bad of me, and also like parents of friends as well. God, I can't even imagine what they used to think of me. Like, honestly, it embarrasses me so much now thinking about it, because I was like, I just tried too hard, and I genuinely didn't need to, because those people were my friends because of who I was, not what I looked like, if that makes sense. So yeah, that was a very, very difficult time for me. A lot of the time, I mean, my sister would be saying, Els, you don't need to wear this, and my mum would be like, Elle, are you not going to put something else on? Like, because it was just revealing too much of myself. And I think, like, particularly now, I mean, boys, feel free to disagree, but I do think it's more sexy when a girl covers up a little bit more, because it's more mysterious. Like, you're kind of wondering what's underneath the clothes, if that makes sense. Whereas back then, you could physically see how big my boobs were. Like, if I was wearing a skirt, you could see how big my bum was. Like, and I feel like it just lost all kind of mystery. I was gonna say that so weirdly then. You lost all kind of mystery behind the way that I looked underneath my clothes, if that makes sense. Because this is probably obviously from like a personal experience. Some of you might relate, some of you will be like, oh no, can't agree with that. But that's absolutely fine. Like, this is literally just so that I can tell you about how I've gained body confidence. I'm not saying that I'm there 100% at all yet, but I have gained body confidence, and I've gained a little bit more respect for my body, I think. Yeah, that was a tough time, I think, because then it got to the stage where I kind of had a bit of a reputation for dressing up too much, or taking pictures with pretty much no clothes. I mean, like, I would have clothes on, obviously, but like, it might be a t-shirt and a thong, and I'd like pull up the t-shirt a little bit, take a picture, and then post it on my Instagram, because I thought that was the way to get more likes. And I think in some ways it was, because thirsty boys were liking it for the sake of it was a half-naked girl on the screen. But then I lost all kinds of respect for myself for a while, because I just thought this is literally the only way that people will like me. But then I was so uncomfortable with posting them. This is the thing that really irritates me, is I kind of think to myself, like, oh, why did you put yourself through that? Because it didn't make me happy. And that's the thing, it genuinely did not make me happy posting these pictures or dressing up the way that I was dressing and going to these parties. I felt so uncomfortable, and I felt so vulnerable, but I felt like that was the only way. Excuse me, did you see that? I felt like that was the only way for me to get certain attention from people, whether or not that be boys or girls. Like, you know, I wanted girls to notice me as well and want to be my friend, but I think they looked at me and thought, "Court, you obviously have a bad reputation, let's not step there." So I think this is a really big part of particularly my journey for body confidence, but I think a lot of teenagers was acne. I seriously suffered, and I mean horrendously suffered from acne. I mean, to be fair, it wasn't to the point where it was like boils on my face or anything like that, but it covered my face, it covered my chest, my back, my shoulders. It was horrendous, and the scarring, I think, was the worst. Acne was one of the biggest things, I think, for me personally to try and bear, if you know what I mean, like in public. So I would either wear clothes, even if it was like the middle of summer, I'd be wearing this massive jumper to cover my chest and my back and my shoulders, and then I'd be caking on makeup. The other thing was editing my photos. I would edit them to the point that they did not look like me, because I thought nobody's gonna wanna like somebody with acne. Even now as a 19-year-old, I still suffer from acne. I still suffer from it. Like, you can't see it obviously because I've got makeup on, but I think if you've been watching my previous videos, you would have seen the state of my skin, like in the makeup ones where I haven't got any makeup on at the beginning of the video. Like, you can see that I still suffer from acne. It's not something that just disappears forever. I know adults, I think my mum still gets spots occasionally. It's a normal thing. It's a normal thing for your skin. In reality, I was a teenager. I was going through severe hormonal changes. For example, I started my period when I think I was 9 or 10, so I was super young, and so for a very long time I was experiencing all these kind of hormonal changes of putting on weight and my skin flaring up and things like that. So I really struggled with it for a very long time. If somebody was to come to me and they were like 13, 14 and they were suffering really badly from acne, I would say to them, you just need to embrace it because you're a teenager and it happens. Like, the hormonal changes that go throughout your body at this time is insane, and you do have side effects. That is just a normal part of life. It's a normal part of being a human is having these side effects. So, you know, if you do suffer really, really badly from it, I actually went to the doctor a couple of times for treatment and things like that. So I got like serums and creams, and I think you can obviously take the pill for it as well. I never actually really found anything that worked completely. And actually it was quite sudden when my acne started kind of slowing down. Like I wasn't experiencing it as badly, like particularly on my back and my shoulders and my chest. That's pretty much clear now. I do still get it on my face, and I just deal with them when they come. So now I'm going to go into kind of how I've started accepting my body and loving my body for who it is, for what it is, that kind of thing. Obviously, I've mentioned before that I joined the gym. Probably one of the best decisions I've made, no joke, because with not only getting the exercise I needed and having routines or exercises kind of planned out for me by my PT, she's also helping with my nutrition, which has massively helped with my skin, my hair, my weight. So when I first joined the gym, I was so nervous, and I mean like genuinely shaking walking into the gym. I think I went a couple, like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, with my best friend Bri, and we kind of worked out, I think it was only a couple of times really, we didn't really go very often. I think it was in one of the summers. But then when she went to college, I was not going in on my own. There was not a chance. I suffered so badly from anxiety back then that I was not going in by myself, so I ended up just cancelling my membership and not going back. And I do regret it in a way, because I think if I'd carried on, then I'd probably be in a better state of fitness now. However, when I decided that I was just going to be joining the gym, I actually phoned up Kim, who's my PT, one evening, and I'll see if she's around to have a chat, and she wasn't. So we booked it for a couple of days after, which gave me some time to actually think of the questions that I wanted to ask her. Yeah, I went and she weighed me, and we spoke about like how active I am, and because I was in an office-based job, I wasn't really getting any exercise at all done. I explained that my diet was really bad, like I was addicted to this, which meant that I wasn't really drinking water. That all contributed, and so she worked out like how many calories I had to take in. She gave me a couple of apps that were useful, which I will put some like either links or pictures of the apps here. So you have like my PT Hub and my Fitness Pal, and I think with my Fitness Pal you can actually log what you're eating throughout the day, so you can see the calories, and it makes it so much better because you can actually see where your calories are going and how distributed it is between breakfast, lunch and dinner, and then maybe what snacks you're having. Now, after that first session I had with her, I can't describe to you the adrenaline rush that literally just seeped through my body. It was the most insane feeling. I was so scared about going, but I literally just bucked it up. I was like, let's just go. I went, I smashed it. I literally tried so hard, and it helped. I think it really helps when you have somebody there motivating you, whether or not that be a PT or you go with your friend. I think that personally helps me. You can kind of encourage each other, particularly if you're going with a friend. Yeah, so that definitely helped. And I think after I saw that first time the effect it had on me, I got so excited to go again, and it kind of became a bit addictive. It's only really been since I moved in with Grandpa that I really like focused on my eating. Yes, I may not be able to go to the gym to work out, but I have got things at home that I can use. I bought weights a couple of weeks before lockdown. I've got a mat. You can do so many exercises without actual equipment which benefit you, if that makes sense. Basically, my point for this point is if you are really struggling, whether or not, even if it's for energy levels, like I've noticed my energy levels have massively risen since going to the gym, because you're pushing adrenaline through your body, and it makes you more awake, it makes you ready to go. So when it comes to how I've gained body confidence, I wouldn't necessarily say I've gained body confidence. I think it's more the fact that I've not decided to, because it wasn't just like a instant thing, but I've started learning to love the way that my body looks, if that makes sense. And I think from seeing the differences in the gym and eating better and wearing different clothes, because I have a completely different style now to what I did even just a couple of months ago. Like I never would have worn this dress. Like it's quite a booby dress, as you can see, and it's quite short and it has my legs out on show, and I just wouldn't have worn it. But because I feel like I'm actually happier with the way that I look, I can wear these kind of things, and these are the kind of things that I've wanted to wear for so long, but I've been so nervous to do it. I do think that positive feedback kind of has helped me in a way. I think, like, you know, when I post a picture on Instagram and I get the comments, like, that does help. I think it helps anybody if you get positive feedback. It's people that are actually personally messaging me and saying like, oh, I'm seeing a massive difference, not in just your body, but just the way that you're handling yourself. Like, you just seem so much happier. It's true, and I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain the way that, you know, I've suddenly miraculously loved my body, because it isn't like that. It isn't a case of I woke up one morning, I was like, you know what, you look damn fine, because it really wasn't. It has taken a very, very, very long time, years in fact, like, but now I'm not afraid to wear certain things or post certain things on Instagram. Like, I recently posted pictures of me with no makeup on, other than I think I have my eyebrows and my eyelashes done, no editing whatsoever, but I was so happy with the way that I looked that I was just like, yeah, you don't need to edit that, you don't need to smooth out your skin or whiten your teeth, just upload the bloody picture. And so I did, and I still got a positive response. I feel like back then I thought the only way for me to get a positive response and loads of likes was for me to basically be half naked, and it's really not the case. If you carry yourself in a positive, confident way, people are going to respond to that positively. I don't know how to put it into words other than the fact that if you carry yourself in that way and you portray that you are confident in your body, people are going to take that positively, and they're going to reciprocate positive comments, if that makes sense. So I'm going to end this video with my message to you, which is, even though you may think that you're not skinny enough, you've got a toned enough bum, you haven't got a big enough bum, your boobs are too small, you know, your skin's not great, you are still beautiful because you are you. If people can't love you for the way that you look, and not on the way that you carry yourself as a person, because I do think that that is more important, then they are not worth your time, and you need to cut them out, because you need people in your life to make you feel the way that people have made me feel recently, that you are loved, that you are wanted, because you are beautiful and you are loved. And yeah, I know that sounds so cringy and just stupid, but it's so true. Like, people should not be judged on the way that they look. People should be judged on the way that they handle themselves as a person, their personality, how much they care for others. So yeah. If you have enjoyed this video, then please don't forget to like and subscribe and share it as well. I really would like this video to go out as a positive message to everybody that is struggling with their body confidence, and hopefully see that things do get better. And yes, so thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.